everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Modern Witch Podcast. I am so excited you're here, especially if you're new, because today we are talking about how and why people access the Akashic Records. I'm going to share with you guys why I've been accessing the Akashic Records, what I've used them for, what I've tapped into. I'm also going to share a little bit about some readings that I've done, not specifics, but just general kind of areas people wanted to tap into. And it's really just been so cool learning, accessing, doing readings within the Akashic Records. And I really just want this to just be kind of a brain dump episode as to if you're kind of interested in the Akashic Records, why people go in, who goes in, all of those sorts of things. I just think it's so fascinating, and I've been using Akashic Records literally in every area of my life. I have been using it in my relationships, in my business, in my spirituality journey, in just kind of my existence as a human, and healing mental health, just so many different areas. So we're going to get into that. But first, I'm going to tell you guys what I've been up to. So this past weekend, I went to a sound bath. I actually went to like 2 sound baths 2 weekends in a row. If you guys are wondering, I'm fully in my spiritual healing era. I just want to lay around, have sound healing done to me, and be a refreshed new person. So I go to a sound bath with my mom on Saturday. It's her first one. I'm pumped because my mom's very like spiritually curious with a lot of the things that I'm into. And so anytime there's an opportunity for me to like bring her along or give her some insight, I'm like, come on, mom, buckle up, let's go. So we go to the sound bath, and we end up getting some crystals there. And how cool is this? Okay, so I've always, when it comes to crystals, I've always gone with the concept of just sort of going with whatever crystal I feel drawn to whenever I'm in the crystal shop. And I have no idea how it works, but somehow if I just go to whatever crystal I'm kind of naturally drawn to, it always is a perfect fit for whatever I need in that moment. Most of the time I just don't realize it's what I need in that moment. So I'm at the crystal shop with my mom. I end up getting 2 crystals. And the first crystal I get is a pink agate. And it is specifically for love, esteem, relationships, specifically for parental love, for connecting on a deeper level when it comes to parental relationships, as well as just acting for really positive self-esteem and self-confidence. And I was like, oh my gosh, I showed it to my mom. I was like, obviously I have to get this. How cute. The other one I got was a peacock ore. And at this point, I'm like in kind of the last round of doing like my practice Reiki sessions to get my Reiki certification. And the peacock ore is it's specifically been used in like Reiki and shamanic healings over the generations to clear blockages, to clear chakras, and to allow you to be more in tune, just kind of spiritually, and really immerse yourself in just kind of your third eye experience. Again, only 2 crystals I gravitated to. I was like, bam, need them both, let's go. So I just wanted to share that because I love when just little synchronicities like that happen. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how fun is just this experience of going on the spiritual journey. You always go somewhere maybe looking for one thing, and you end up getting something that you really didn't know you need, but your soul knew you needed it. Okay, so let's get into why do people access the Akashic Records? So whenever I got into the Akashic Records, I was introduced to Akashic Records readings as like angel readings, soul purpose readings. And at the time I was working in the corporate world, I was very burnt out, very unfulfilled. I was like, well, I'm interested in this because I don't know what my purpose is, but I know it's not doing HR for the next 35 years, At this point, I'm like 30. I'm going through like a spiritual awakening. I know I want to do something in the realm of like spirituality and like sharing about mental health and sobriety and addiction, but I have no idea like what it is or how to bring it to life. So I started to tap into the Akashic Records. I started to do my own readings, and I just started to learn so much about what I'm here to do, my soul, what my soul agreed to coming into this lifetime, what I'm here to do. And that's really allowed me to just tap into so many different spiritual gifts. Whenever I first started tapping into the Akashic Records, I was, okay, let me clarify. Whenever I first started tapping into the Akashic Records when it comes to my business, because you can actually tap into the Akashic Records, personal, business, relationships, career, past lives, soul contracts, all these different areas, right? So I first started tapping into specifically my ability to do medium readings. And so what happens is I've had the ability to be a medium or, connect with angelic beings since I was a kid. And then whenever I got older and kind of learned that those gifts were a little bit maybe taboo, I kind of shut those gifts off. And then, they've, since come back to life and just been full force in my life for probably the past like 4 or 5 years, specifically with my medium ability. And so I have been kind of stuck with like, okay, what am I supposed to do with these medium abilities? Are they just for me to heal my grief? Am I supposed to use them to help others? Am I supposed to share this gift with others? Like, am I capable of sharing this gift with others? Like, so many things, right? So basically I go into the Akashic Records and I'm like, am I supposed to use this gift to like, for others? Like, I don't really know. And do you want to know what happens? Is literally I go on a retreat and my roommate on the retreat, I end up having a medium experience where I learn that I can, at the time, I think my medium abilities only go to people that I knew in this life that have passed. And I learn, my dad, who's one of my spirit guides, essentially brought her parents to me with a message on this spiritual retreat. And I learned that not only do I have the ability to communicate with people that I knew, I have the ability to communicate and act as a messenger in the medium space. So I have this incredibly like profound moment because I have no idea that I'm still kind of accepting the fact that like I'm a full-blown medium. And then now I'm like, oh, also now I can use this gift for others. What the heck? So I'm like, what do I do? And what happens is I just start to have all this influx of just getting different kind of angels to come to me and say, hey, this person, I have this message for them. And they're all messages that I was like, I have to pass this along. I pass it along, it resonates. And it kind of started growing from there. And I was like, okay, so that's really where I was tapping into the Akashic Records at the beginning when it came to like my spiritual, I wasn't even thinking it was going to be a business at the time. I was just thinking like, I don't know, every once in a while I would have these, encounters and I would have a message that I would pass to somebody and that would be that. And then it started to, the more work I did in the Akashic Records, the cool thing about the Akashic Records is you never get more than you can handle. So whenever I went to the Akashic Records about this first, they weren't like, oh yeah, you're a full-blown medium. You can do it to literally anybody that you knew, didn't know. You can pass on messages. You can do the whole nine. And you're going to use it to make a spiritual business and help others heal through grief. Like if the Akashic Records told me all that at the beginning, I would have been like, no, I'm not doing any of this. But the Akashic Records reveal just a little bit like, oh, let me show you that you actually have the ability to, work with other people. And then, let me show you that you have the ability to pass along these messages that really resonate with people. So that's how I started actually working in the Akashic Records was at the beginning, I was just trying to heal from anxiety and depression. I would literally just do Akashic Records meditations and I would really just focus on doing a lot of healing work. So for me, that would look like giving love to past versions of myself where maybe like a memory came up where I was like, oh, I can't believe I did that. And instead of like judging myself, I would just like give that version of myself like a ton of love. And it allowed me to like heal on this super deep, intimate, emotional level. So then from there, I moved into like the soul purpose kind of aspect of Akashic Records. Then I moved into soul contracts, past lives, all these different areas. And then I started doing readings for others. And it's just been such a cool experience. But let's get into, so I talked a lot about soul purpose. Another reason people access the Akashic Records is soul contracts. So what happens is whenever your soul is, being reincarnated into the next life, what's happening is you are going through this period where essentially your soul is making contracts for your next life. So maybe you have 10 soul contracts, maybe 4 of them are romantic, 2 of them are children, 4 of them are platonic. You agree to these soul contracts in this state that's called lives between lives, where your soul is still alive, but you're not in like a human body in any capacity, and you're kind of deciding what your next life is going to be. So in the Akashic Records, you can go in and you can see how many soul contracts you have. Recently somebody asked me to tap into their soul contracts, and I was able to see how many they had, how many they had already been through, which one they were on, and what the one to come was, which was super cool. So the work around soul contracts is a little different every time. You can also see past lives. I recently did a reading. This woman came to me basically and was like, I just have like this immense like fear and anxiety and panic, and I have no idea why. And I'm pretty sure I like did something in a past life that's like causing me to be like this. And I was like, well, first of all, let's not judge ourselves. Let's not condemn ourselves. There's nothing that you did that caused anything bad, you know? So let's just like clear that up. You didn't do something bad in a past life that caused you to have a, you know, bad life in this time. But yeah, there could be things in a past life that you're holding on to in this life that aren't allowing you to, you know, achieve that best purpose, best version of you. So let's tap in. So basically I was able to tap into her past lives and kind of give her some information about some ways that she was kind of, you know, trapped in fear in past lives. And she actually was like, oh my gosh, gosh, how that resonates to this present life, you know, really cool to just see things full circle. Because I remember in that reading specifically, the information I got, like one specific download, I was like, I cannot tell this woman this. And I tell her and she's like, oh yeah, that makes sense because of XYZ. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm so glad I told you that, because for her, it had been like this big lifelong mystery, and then I get this download, and I'm like, oh, this is uncomfortable information. I don't want to give it. So that's another thing. Sometimes you get information that's like uncomfortable, but it's never more than you can handle, and it's never not loving energy. It's always information. Like for me, I thought this download was something that was like, I don't know, is it going to be bothersome? And instead she was like, thank God I finally have an answer, you know? So that's a really cool thing about the Akashic Records, is that the Lord of the Records who govern the Akashic Records, they make sure that every time you come in or every time you do a reading for somebody, you get what is good for them in that moment, nothing more, nothing less. So that's just a cool, fun fact. So another reason people tap into the Akashic Records is just to understand themselves. Whenever I tap in, sometimes I'll tap into like certain things that are manifesting in my life. So I tapped into, why am I having panic attacks? So I used to struggle with panic attacks. Actually, if you guys listened to my last episode, it was a whole episode on panic attacks. But I tapped into like, why as somebody who now is pretty healed on my spiritual journey, why do I still have panic attacks that come up every once in a while? What's triggering them? And then how do I part with those things, you know? And you can tap into the records and you can find out things like that, which I just think is so cool and so insightful. So you can also access the Akashic Records to connect with your intuition or to connect with your higher self. So a lot of times things like Akashic Records, Reiki, different things like that, they essentially are allowing your higher self or that highest version of self for you to become that, for you to embody that, for you to feel that energy, and for you to be, you know, one step closer into stepping into that person. And I think that's just so, so fun. So I really just wanted to give you guys this download of like, why do people use the Akashic Records? Because most recently, even at the fair I worked this past weekend, people were like, I've heard of the Akashic Records, like why do you access them? So I hope that was like a little good download for you guys as far as like why you might access them, what you can do in there. And if you're watching on YouTube, I hope you guys like my Hocus Pocus shirt. I got this at Target for $12. So if you're looking for, I don't know, any witchy things, Target has all of them, very cheap. Also Dollar Tree, that is my non-sponsored plug. But yeah, I have some exciting things coming up I want to tell you guys about. So if you guys want a little guide as to how to get into your Akashic Records, on Wednesdays at 12 in the month of October, I am doing live Zoom calls for anybody who wants to join, where I'm sharing with you guys how you can access your own Akashic Records. I actually have like a 9-10 page like PDF download that includes a pathway prayer, questions to ask in your Akashic Records, and we're really just going to go through how I access them, the entire process. We're going to do an FAQ session. It's going to be really, really cool and really fun if you're interested in accessing the Akashic Records or learning more. I am also doing a couple other things in the month of October. So on Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Eastern, all these times are going to be Eastern Standard Time. I'm in North Carolina. So On Tuesdays at 6, I'm going to do a how to read tarot, also like Zoom live class. And so I'm going to take you guys through how I learned how to read tarot. I'm going to take you guys through some basic spreads. I'm going to do any frequently asked questions. It's going to be such a fun time of community. And it'll also be a great time. I'll probably do a time where I'll be like, drop your like Instagram handles or where you're from or whatever. So if you want to connect with other like-minded people or people in your area or people on Instagram, you'll be able to do that, which will be really cool. I always love to meet other people that are just interested in the same spiritual things I am. I feel like the conversations are just so much more different, so much more fun, and I really enjoy them. I'm also going to start going live on YouTube on Thursdays. I think I'm just going to do frequently asked questions little download and literally just go through all the random questions that I get asked through the week. I'm just gonna like make a list of them as the week goes out, and then just basically be like, hi guys, here's some things people were asking, here's some answers, here's some examples, here's some things I've been learning. So yeah, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I'm gonna have live things I'm gonna be doing where you can connect with me over Zoom, and then Mondays will be new podcast episodes. And of course, if you guys want to follow along daily, Instagram, TikTok, I also post shorts on YouTube. So a lot of ways for you guys to connect, whatever your preferred method of just contact and communication is. I hope to see you in one of my live classes coming up in October. I love you. Thanks for the support. And as always, happy healing.